Hey guys, what's up? Inksmith back again. And today, Kai Wise decided to do a follow-up video to his video yesterday, which was answering a lot of the questions that I asked myself. And most of the same questions were asked by Peaches, who I think they also saw all the strange things that Kai was saying in his video and thought like, what the heck? And luckily, he did answer those. Unluckily, not a lot of the answers made too much sense, so I'm going to try and go over those and still question some of the things I heard because it was just so out there. This seemed really off kilter. I don't know. You guys can watch this video yourself, but his video yesterday seemed very morose and kind of like overwhelmed with the situation. And then today he was like falling off his chair laughing through the whole thing, like as if none of this meant much to him, which was a really strange contrast to what he was answering yesterday. I don't know if it was because it was Peaches or because he thinks like a lot of the questions that people have are just easily dismissed, but it was weird. One other thing, I want to apologize. A couple times yesterday in yesterday's video, I misgendered Omnia. That's my bad. That's my fault. I got it right a few times, but I keep messing up. It's hard for me to fix because I teach English all day and I am strict about the rules of plurals and singulars. So even I myself in my mind, I'm trying to correct those and I hear it as a plural or singular and I don't remember that I'm supposed to be correcting for gender. So please realize I'm never trying to misgender somebody. I've got ADD, I've got dyslexia. I know I can't keep using it as an excuse, but at the same time, those are the things that I'm fighting through as I'm trying to become a better person at doing this. So please forgive me. Please give me a chance to get used to this. I don't get to speak English every day. I teach English and that's about the only time I get to speak it. The rest of the day I'm speaking Japanese. So please bear with me. I will get better. Okay, so he begins the video, and first of all, once again, we have a whole video about a lot of materialism. Materialism seems to be a huge part of Kai's life. I don't know why he's so obsessed with all this stuff. Omnia, they mentioned it a couple times because they had stuff stolen, which makes sense. But I really feel like Omnia dropped it after that. Like, they haven't talked about it that much anymore, but Kai seems really obsessed with these different things. So he even starts out with, why would I need to steal stuff if I could buy it myself? Well, saying that you could buy it yourself doesn't invalidate someone saying you stole something. I mean, there's petty revenge, there's financial abuse that you could do to steal it. So I don't know how that invalidates someone saying that you stole it. And then he also says, someone's blaming me that I let people sneak into her house and steal stuff. And I thought, oh, I don't remember him saying that. And he didn't say that, but he does admit that he left the door unlocked to their apartment. And that may have been why somebody took something from their apartment, from Omnia's apartment. Yeah. I mean, that kind of leaves open a huge loophole to everything. I guess you could just say anything that was stolen wasn't you. You just happened to leave the door open. How convenient. I mean, that's like saying like, oh, well, I didn't put the fire out because when I came in, everything was already on fire. So I thought, you know what, this place is going to burn anyway, so I might as well not call the fire department. What do they call that? That's like the Good Samaritan's Law where you're expected to do something. Like you're supposed to actually act on something to stop a crime from happening. Like what? Like, so you didn't commit a crime, you just left it open to crime. Why wouldn't you like let the person know when you were done getting your stuff so they could come back to the house and lock the door? He says his reason is that he didn't have a key, but I mean, wasn't there a cop there with them or something like that? Like that's, I don't know. I've had to go through this situation before and this does not sound like how it goes down. Usually a cop is there to notify the other person when you're done, or you have to notify the other person when you're done getting your stuff out. Something seems odd with that situation, and I don't know why the door would just be left open in the middle of New York, which isn't exactly known for its low crime rate, let's be honest. So yeah, maybe you didn't commit a crime, you just left it vulnerable to crime. Oh, okay. So he says that some people were complaining that he shouldn't have to complain about paying for food or groceries or for having to clean. I actually mentioned this because Omnia's parents paid for everything. So Kai then says, well, that's not true. Omnia's parents paid for everything at first, but then when September came around, that they stopped paying. But this is one thing, and I forgot to mention about this because I wasn't totally informed on this. A few of you, the viewers, informed me on this. Apparently, Kai let Omnia's parents know that they identified as a different gender, as non-binary, and that they had had bi relationships in the past. And this is what ended up creating a sort of less stable relationship between her and her parents, or them and their parents. And that's another form of financial abuse, like getting more control over a person by cutting them off and isolating them from their parents. This is now, it's starting to make sense why I kept hearing isolation over and over again. I remember thinking in the past, like, I don't remember them saying isolated as much, but now if there's something you're doing to go out of your way to make the relationship between someone's parents and them unstable. I remember having friends in the past who, when they had a really negative relationship with a partner they were living with, and that partner wanted to cut them off more from their parents so they could have more control, they would call their parents and lie about drugs that they were doing. Like, this person was totally straight edge and never did a single drug or even drank in their life, but their partner would call their parents and tell them they were doing like wild drugs just to get them cut off financially so they could have more control. And this is kind of what I'm seeing here in this situation. So he says, yeah, I started to pay. And then he says, well, I guess I didn't really pay, but, I would cover costs for the apartment when Omnia couldn't pay for it. So there was times where you're making Omnia pay for the apartment, for the gas, for the light, for everything else. And what, you were just cleaning and buying groceries? Like, are you serious? Like, what? So you got her cut off. You got Omnia cut off from their parents. And then later you were complaining that you were having to pay for half of stuff sometimes, not always. Like, he doesn't see anything wrong with that situation. Like, come on now. Okay. Oh, and then there's another part where after he complains about all that financial stuff, then he goes into a rant about how he's not worried so much financially because he's well off financially. He just doesn't want to have to pay restitution for things that got stolen because those are false allegations. And then he reads a comment that somebody wrote on Twitter that he bought his Switches to spitefully buy them to show Omnia what he had now. And he said, I wish I had spite money, but he just got done telling us that he has a bunch of money and he's financially very sound, but then also tells us that he doesn't have spite money and that he didn't have enough to pay for them to live in the apartment together, and that he couldn't believe he was being forced to cover so many different things. So which is it? Were you financially so well off that money wasn't a big deal, or were you really upset and butthurt that you had to pay for half of everything? Like, what? Like, the story keeps going back and forth. This is like a constant resurfacing thing where the story isn't really gelling, it's not really making sense, and there's a lot of over explaining. And this is really something you see in someone who's being very dishonest. Like, they constantly over explain. Their story doesn't match up with their old story. Their lines of thought aren't congruent. These are like, within an interrogation, these are things police pick up on all the time, where when they ask them the same story again, because that's what we're hearing a lot of the same story again, but now things are changing. Now, oh, well, her parents didn't pay for everything. I'm sorry, their parents didn't pay for everything. I was living with her and they were paying for it, but then later I was paying for it, but also I wasn't fully paying for it. I was sometimes paying for it when Omnia couldn't pay for it. And it's like, so which one is it? You've just listed 3 different types of ways. Like, this is why people are unclear and not as likely to believe you when this story just keeps changing as you're telling it. Like, these are classic signs of dishonesty. Okay, so anyway, then we go off on another materialism rant where he has to talk about all these different things both of them own. And my God, is this guy ever tilted about things both of them own? Like, he spends probably about 20 to 30 minutes of this 1 hour video just talking about, like, I bought this light and she didn't buy this light, and I bought this switch and she didn't buy this switch, and I didn't steal her stuff, but she stole my monitor. And it's like, oh my God, like, what? Like, why is all this so important? He also says all this, the stuff that I'm really upset about is that all this stuff Omnia said is false allegations. But didn't she put in a protection order? They put in a protection order, right? How is a protection order a false allegation? A protection order is kind of like a guard, like guarding you against the person you think is going to assault, injure, hurt, harass, whatever you. It's not an allegation, it's a protection. That's like saying a security system is an allegation towards every robber that might break into your house. That's not how it works. Like, how is that a false allegation? I guess he's saying, like, the reason he got arrested was a false allegation, but if he broke the protection order, then that was already the guard in place that he broke. It's just like if a security alarm goes off because a burglar breaks in, they don't then call the security alarm a false allegation. Like, it went off because you broke in, like, right? Tell me if I'm getting this one wrong, but like, that doesn't seem to logically come to the same place he thinks it comes to, in my mind, at least. All right. Oh, and then he gets into why he deleted his old channel, and this really didn't make any sense at all. Like, the other thing that was so strange is he just kept laughing through all these things. Like, I guess he wanted to portray himself as laughing off the haters, which it seemed desperate. Let's put it that way. I don't know how else to say it. He says he never attacked John Swan. John Swan attacked him and said that he was intellectually dishonest and that no one in the community should ever listen to him seriously again. And also that Harley TBS said I shouldn't have a platform. And he says, then that's why I deleted my channel, because all of you are freaks. Okay, but then you started another channel, and also you've started another channel now, your YouTube channel again. So why are you back? Are you back because you want to hang out with freaks? Are we not freaks anymore now that you're back? Like, that doesn't add up. And how is people being freaks? Like, what? Like, that's not even a good, like, okay, the reason you deleted your channel was because John Swan and Harley TBS were freaks. How is that any kind of argument? It just seems like a low blow for an insult because you couldn't come up with a good reason. I can give you a pretty good reason why you deleted your channel, because you looked silly. You look silly because you DMCA'd a person and took down their channel just because they hurt your fifis. Like, let's be honest. Because John Swan and Harley TBS were free. What? That's like, are we in high school now? Are we calling each other silly names and stuff and throwing paper balls in the hallway? Like, what? So he says, oh, and the reason I deleted Akumu is because Akumu was a shitty person. And anyway, who wants to protect an idiot like him? He has no right to speak. But you do have a right to speak, I guess, right? And it's okay when you get him deleted, but it's not okay when anybody talks bad about you. Like, how can you say these kind of things and then also take issue with anybody being upset at the things that you're saying? Like, does this guy ever hear himself? Does he ever hear himself talk? Okay, then he nitpicks this nuance of Omnia calling Peaches a friend. And literally, it's one tweet where Omnia says, my friend Peaches, blah, blah, blah. And he about loses his mind because Omnia did this. Like, this, he goes off about this for another 20 minutes or so on this video, just talking about, like, how do you accidentally call somebody your friend in a tweet? How do you accidentally do that? Who cares? Like, what a nuance to be stuck on. Like, who cares? What, now they might be friends after fighting? Like, okay, so what? Like, they had some tiffs in the past and now they made up? Okay, so what? Like, what does this got to do with the situation? Like, he goes off on this for so long, and he's laughing and, like, giggling and falling back and forth in his chair and going all over. I was really confused by that. I was like, is there something I'm not understanding about why this is so funny that she called Peaches her friend? Because like, I mean, what? Because they had a fight in the past because they were angry with each other in the past? Like, okay, so what? I don't know. That part was really strange to me. I was really lost. He says, I never suicide baited Peaches. She was a problem because she fished for attention and she was a sympathy seeker. Okay, so like, what are these last two videos that you just made, Kai? Are these not fishing for attention and sympathy seeking? Are you seeking apathy on these videos? Like, so you're not a bad guy because you called her out for things that was bad, like sympathy seeking. But now that you're sympathy seeking for your situation, now sympathy seeking is okay, right? Like, does this guy ever go back and watch his own videos? Like, I'm really confused at all, like the hypocrisy. Like the hypocrisy runs so deep in everything this guy says that I feel like maybe he just makes the video, uploads it, and then just never looks at the channel again. I also noticed there's no comments at all in the video. He actually turned comments on today, which I was surprised. So either number one, nobody's watching his stuff at all, or number two, he's filtering comments like crazy. Like he's got the review comment turned on. Yes, you can turn your comments on so that you have to review and approve anything to allow it to be posted. And I can't imagine there's a lot of friendly comments coming his way at this point. He says that he didn't think this was a big deal to say that she fished for attention or that she was a sympathy seeker. But I guess when he seeks sympathy, it is a big deal then. Okay, gotcha. He says, no one deplatformed me. I deleted my own channel, but people came to my next channel and harassed me. And it's like, yeah, that's because you deleted your main channel to avoid harassment. And then you can't also complain that when you start a new channel, that harassment follows you. If you burn down a house and walk out of the house and watch it burn down, you can't be upset later when the fire department shows up and asks you if you committed an act of arson. Like, of course, people came to harass you on your other channel. That's the only way they had to communicate with you at that point. And the main reason you deplatformed yourself or shut down your old channel was because you were scared of that harassment, I guess. I mean, does he think we're foolish enough to think like, yeah, that's really messed up. Why would they come follow him to his next channel to finish all the arguments they had with him? That's so crazy. They should just let him alone and let him play Pokemon. Like, really? Like, you can't see a logical conclusion to that? I don't understand. Oh, he says the reason he said stuff about Omnia's cat was because he wonders how she could possibly take care of her cat while she streams all day. Like, what kind of care does a cat need that you can't stream? Like, I think you could even stream for 8 hours. There's lots of streamers who stream for 8 hours and they have a cat that shows up and walks around and they pet it and feed it, and you just tell your viewers you're going to take a break to put more food in its bowl or change its water or clean its litter box. Like, people aren't going to freak out about that. I think there's lots of streamers who take care of pets. Like, how does streaming, if anything, you take better care of your pet because you're always home, right? You don't leave your house to go streaming, and unless I guess you're one of those like live streamers who walk around, you know, IRL streaming. And then Kai says, does everyone think I am a rude person or have any respect for anyone? Because he says he messaged people after he made this video and they were surprised that he wasn't super rude and that he was respectful in the comments. You know, Kai, like, I don't think there was a point in my last video at all where I said you are rude and don't have respect for people. I think your biggest problem is you're not self-aware. Like I just said in most of this video, that you can't go back and look at it. And then he also says that people need to stop getting so hung up on like internet fights and stuff. They need to stop beefing about everything said about them. They need to stop having to think they need to defend every last thing said about them. But you just literally made 2 videos defending yourself, Kai. So you're literally not even following your own advice. And that's why I'm saying, no, everyone doesn't think you're the rudest, most disrespectful person ever. They think you're just the most self-unaware person ever, that you have no insight of yourself or self-reflection. You literally just spent almost 3 hours over these last 2 videos not analyzing anything you're saying and being a hypocrite about everything. So I think if anybody thinks any sort of things that would be upsetting to you, it would be the fact that you have no self-awareness and are constantly hypocritical. Um, and I don't know how somebody continues to exist in this manner. It's wild. I mean, the other thing too was just like he complains that Amnia got mad about small things in the relationship and would stay mad for a long time. But I mean, that's any relationship too. Like, there's always small things people get upset about and nitpick about, but that's part of being in a relationship and you learn how to compromise for that. Like, I learned the things that really piss off my wife with, like, if I don't clean it up or if I don't wash my certain dish or something like, and then I just make sure I start to do that stuff so I'm not constantly reiterating the same annoying habits. That's part of a compromise in a relationship, and that's part of like a relationship evolving so you grow together instead of apart. And I think there was just no self-reflection that allowed you to do that, Kai, and I think this is why everything went so wrong. There was a lot of me as far as taking care of yourself, but not me in the sense of looking within yourself and checking what you're doing and how you're treating the other person. It's so strange to hear a perspective like this that has little to no insight to what they're doing around the other person. It's kind of wild. And also just the constant hilarity that Kai found with people opposing some of the ideas he had in his last video was befuddling. I don't know how else to say it. He laughed off almost everything he was judged on and gave these either hypocritical things where he said people need to stop defending themselves online while defending himself for 3 hours, and people need to stop seeking sympathy while seeking sympathy for 2 hours on his last video. Like, am I living in Bizarro world? Does this guy not notice anything he's doing? This is, I don't know. I've never seen somebody continue to make videos in which they are so unaware of themselves and their habits and the way they portray themselves online. It's unbelievable. But there you go. There you have it. That's the follow-up. I don't know what else to say. I love you guys' insight on the last video. Thank you for correcting me for the Omnia thing. I tried to keep it as right on the gender as I did with this one. I hope I didn't mess up too many times. I probably still did. I'd probably have to go back and listen to the video to find the parts where I did. But I'm trying to correct it. I'm trying to get better. You'll probably notice I got it right almost all the time. I will continue to do better. And I just want to say thank you. We're about to hit 4,000 subs, and I can't believe it. I finally get to take a break at 5,000 subs. But don't worry, even when we hit 5,000, I'll only be taking like a weekend off. And then I'll continue to do at least probably 5 videos every week. But thank you so much. And thank you for all the views on the last one too. And thank you for all your compliments on the Creepshow art video. I didn't expect people would still be hanging around to see what I thought about Emily's answer to that. So thank you so much. And I'll have a new video out tomorrow, and I'll talk to you again real soon.